Really excited to jump in today. Have Eric with me. I'm going to share my screen, and we put together some slides so that we can give a quick overview of Postscript and SMS, but really spend more of the time digging into how Snow, really one of our highest adopting brands, doing it the right way, doing like a teardown of their account and how they've been able to see so much success. All right, Eric, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So I'm going to go into presenter mode here. Now, what we really want to cover today is how Snow made 1.2 million from SMS in May. And we've chosen May as kind of this month-long case study that we want to present because Snow's a big brand with years of experience with email and all the other channels that go into making a brand great. But SMS in May, this is the first month that they ever made more money from SMS than they did from email. And so we really want to dig into what made that possible. And as opposed to just keeping SMS layered on as kind of an incremental channel, but making it their most profitable channel for the month. So I'm Sean. I'm the head of operations here at Postscript. I'm actually also the first employee, and I've seen a ton of brands come in, use SMS correctly. Some people adopt it better than others. Snow's one of our flagship stores. And with me here today is Eric. Eric, you want to give a quick introduction?
Hi, everyone. Eric Palatti, VP of e-commerce for Snow Oral Care. And I've been running digital acquisition for e-commerce brands for the past 8 years.
Excellent. So we really wanted to have an operations person and someone in the weeds at the account for Snow so that we can actually highlight the specifics of what it takes to take SMS to the next level, as opposed to just scratching the surface like so many other brands do. So quickly, some agenda here. Want to do an introduction on Postscript, want to talk about our view of the channel and how to do SMS correctly, as opposed to, just blasting out coupons like some other brands might, at the surface. Talk a little bit about what's possible with SMS, but really spend more of the time digging into what Snow has done specifically to get the kind of results you see on the screen to make over $1 million with SMS in 1 month. And just talking at the end a little bit about how to get access to like a powerhouse program and making sure that we are able to do this for other brands and create like a calculator of sorts for you. So quickly on Postscript, you see a lot of big logos on the screen. We launched in 2018, and we're SMS that's specifically built for Shopify. A lot of our integration, a lot of the data that comes with using Postscript is really specific to what you can do with your Shopify data, all of your order history, customer history information. Backed by YC, OpenView, and then Greylock led our most recent Series B earlier this year. And then over 1,300 reviews with a 5-star rating, and really pride ourselves on navigating with shops how to do SMS correctly. And so you can take a look at our page on the Shopify App Store, how many different brands we've helped kind of start this new channel and use it correctly. And we've had over 30,000 brands download Postscript with what is fast approaching, 1 billion text messages sent. So we have a lot of data in-house. We've seen the right way to do it. We've seen, the wrong way to do it, but definitely spending today highlighting Snow as one of the best case scenarios if you take the time to A/B test, use your data, and set things up properly. Now, why SMS? It might seem obvious over the last couple of years, but just putting a few things on the screen that I think summarize what has been happening in the market recently. Over the last couple of years, we see a lot of kind of decrease in open rates for emails. There's something changing, what seems like every month, every quarter, something major is happening with Facebook, or something's happening that's making, the Klaviyo's of the world and the Postscripts of the world really beat the drum on why it's so important to have that owned audience as opposed to like the rented audience, so to speak. I even think back to like a couple of years ago with Facebook Messenger changes, not being able to reach all of your followers quite as easily. All the way up until now, we've got iOS 15, and it just seems like something pretty regularly is coming up that's making it more and more valuable to build your email list, build your SMS list in order to have that direct connection to your shoppers. Now, we see this as the channel of the decade, not just because you can, have that 98% open rate, but it really helps you mitigate the uncertainty from some of these other platforms where you're kind of relying on their data and their changes. We also see an improved performance on email, and having this not have to compete with email, but actually get used with email. Obviously, the increase in LTV and just the increase of having that retention rate from being able to hit up anybody with a phone number that has subscribed to your store. And really all of the use cases for SMS that lean more into conversations, engagement, building community, getting UGC going, as opposed to just sending out coupons or trying to make this a pure marketing channel. Now, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot less of this, obviously. And one of the comments that Postscript and we have on the market in general is, we hear so many brands, and we talk to thousands of brands now that want to facilitate more of like that personalization at scale. We talk about bringing the customer experience online, keeping more of like the two-way interaction, as opposed to what marketing has been for so long, which is, a lot of one-way communication. And that's something that's really unique about SMS, is the fact that you can facilitate conversations and you can do more of like the engagement play, which is really good for unsubscribe rates over time. And it's really good for keeping people engaged for a long period of time, so that when you do have that big promotion, they're more apt to actually take action on your message. But we just see so many texts that go out that look like this. And so we talk one way, but if you go sign up for 100 of your favorite brands on SMS, you're going to see a ton of texts that are going out in all caps, or they're very coupon heavy. And it's really just about arbitraging that 98% open rate. And that's really not the point long term. And we see it in the data. And so we wanted to dig in with Snow, who was super willing to spend more time with our data team and our in-house data science team on A/B testing and figuring out some of the specifics as to like what makes a fantastic SMS program. And really, it's not just like the pie in the sky, like we should be having more conversations with customers conversation. But at the end of the day, like the good creative and the good strategy is actually making more like dollars. It's making more sense business-wise. It results in way fewer of your subscribers unsubscribing. Your list stays bigger and healthier for a longer period of time. This isn't just a cash grab and sending campaigns out. And as we enter Q4 and the busiest time of year for everybody, I think having the right approach is, incredibly important if you want Q4 to like catapult you into acquiring a lot of new customers that actually become loyal customers in 2022. And so we do have a lot of brands that we talk to. They're only scratching the surface with SMS, right? Image here, typical Shopify store owner. They think that they're crushing it because they've got a high ROI number. They're only spending a couple $100 on SMS. And it's because they might be doing like, keyword replies and abandoned carts. At the end of the day, they're just not utilizing the channel for all the things that it can do. They've got a couple of the default automations on. And what's possible with SMS is actually using data and using all of the Shopify customer information that you have to look at how often people buy and to look at how often they might buy in the future if you space out your messaging correctly and use the right messages. You're also looking at, if you're growing your list by 10% plus every month, you're going to see like gigantic returns compared to other brands that are much more on and off with their list. And the reason why is because when everybody sees every single text, you have to keep your list fresh. It's not totally the same with email. You can get away with a lot more volume in email. So it's important to keep getting new phone numbers all the time. And really leveraging SMS to gather that user-generated content because you can get the two-way aspect going. So if you go back to the example of that guy that thinks that he's crushing it with SMS, this might be some of the inputs from his store into what we've made in-house at Postscript is this SMS calculator that really helps us determine what should we be setting up in your account. This is something that we did with Snow. All of their numbers look a lot bigger than this, but the idea of having like the average store put in some of their traffic numbers, what their opt-in percentage might look like. And at the end of the day, they shouldn't be making 10 grand from SMS. They should be making like $250,000 from SMS if they follow the calculator and some of the best practices. So we'll have a little call to action at the end on how you can work with Postscript to get your calculator running. But I want to start sending things over to Eric so that we can get specific about what this looks like with an account like Snow. So we're going to dig into Snow's playbook here. Eric?
Thanks, Sean. So what I'm going to go through is how Snow achieved tremendous growth in our SMS program in 2021. You saw the $1.2 million number, but just a bit more context about that. In May of 2021, we were up 10x in SMS revenue over May of 2020. At the same time, we tripled our return on credit spend. So we 10x'd our volume from revenue year over year, while at the same time getting 3 times more efficient in terms of revenue from every message that we sent. But here's what's even more interesting. Snow's overall business in May of 2021 was actually down in revenue versus May of 2020. So this wasn't catching a natural wave in the business where all the channels were up and SMS just rode with it. Actually, SMS was the one bright spot in our year-over-year performance amongst all the channels in May. And that happened through execution, which we'll go more in depth on in the next slides. And one more thing to mention. Snow had been running SMS with Postscript since 2019. So this isn't a brand new SMS program. We've just been ignoring it. And then all of a sudden it took off when we finally paid attention to it. This is a product of actually years of painstaking work of week in, week out, countless failed tests. So a lot of times it felt like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So hopefully some of the things I'm going to show you are going to help you shorten the learning curve and get you to that type of growth faster than we did. Next slide. So the playbook, how we made this happen. These are the things we worked with Postscript to optimize using our data, subscriber health, timing optimization, when to send messages, message preferences, and then we'll go through Postscript account teardown, look at our list growth flow, the automations and campaigns we use, and as well as our efforts for community building and user-generated content. So these are just a few examples of what we did based on our analytics, our A/B test to find the right balance between return on spend, revenue volume based on Snow's internal metrics, profit margins, and growth goals. You may have different numbers, so I encourage you to do your own tests to find out what works for your brand and your business, your audience. Stop sending campaigns to people that don't click within 8 weeks of subscribing. We did that after finding that if people haven't clicked on 8 weeks, it doesn't make much sense. The likelihood of them joining and clicking, engaging, and revenue isn't worth the cost of sending to that audience. That's a non-click audience. Changing the first welcome series message from a 4-hour to a 1-hour delay. Increase the subscriber value by $4. That was the result of an A/B test. Sending campaigns to the new engaged segment, which is subscribed within 60 days or clicked within 270 days. This is our bread and butter campaign segment. We get the best results, find this is the best balance and optimization between spending credits and getting incremental revenue. Again, I want to emphasize, you do your own tests, find based on your data, find what works for you. So list growth. How we tripled our list size in a mature SMS program in 2021 year to date. This is the most important section. Growing your SMS list, getting a new lead flow is like oxygen for everything else in the program. Next slide, please. So the entry pop-up, which is a 2-step email SMS pop-up is the linchpin of our list growth. So what I'm going to do is go through the actual experience that users see and then a deep dive. So as you can see, the first screen, this is our desktop pop-up. It looks a little bit different today, but the fundamental structure is still in place. The first screen, we're offering a $29 value, extra strength, teeth whitening refill serum wand in exchange for the email address. The user puts in their email, they click get free wand. And then in the next screen, they have the opportunity to click give me the wand. It adds a product to the cart, but it actually doesn't stop there. Go to the next screen. Now it's, wait, want more free stuff? Subscribe to our SMS list and we'll send you our rejuvenating lip treatment for free, $35 value. They type their phone number in at this point. And then the final screen, click give me the lip treatment. I click that. And now from whatever page they're on the site, the pop-up closes. They're still on the same page they landed on. And they have 2 products in the cart for free plus shipping, valued at $64. So there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of painstaking work to getting this pop-up in its current form. As you can see, it's not just a 2-step pop-up, but it's a 2-step with freebie products instead of a discount coupon. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this has changed the economics of a business at Snow. So put yourself in the customer's shoes at this point. You just submitted your email and SMS, but now you have $64 in free product that you weren't expecting when you landed on the site. You had no idea. And you aren't used to seeing something like this with other shopping experiences. Most often it's just a discount code. So the first thing you're probably thinking is are those free products even going to be there if I abandon the site? And the second thing you're probably thinking is now you have a free maximum strength refill serum wand. You're probably going to want the Snow teeth whitening kit to be able to use it. Now, could someone take that wand, the serum, and buy a mouth tray off Amazon and use the serum? Sure. We would basically break even after they pay the shipping charge. How often does that happen? Extremely rarely. Over 99% of the time, they're adding other products to cart. So the next obvious question you're probably thinking is, wait a minute, why are you giving away free products instead of just a basic bread and butter, sign up and save 10% discount? The reason is in head-to-head A/B tests repeatedly, offering the free product beat 10% off coupon codes and 15% off in lead generation, purchase conversion rate, revenue per session, and AOV. It's also more profitable for us. A 10% off coupon code slices $15 off our AOV. We're not sacrificing any AOV to get our leads. We're just giving away some products, and the cost of goods sold on those products is only a few dollars. Now, this may not work for you, it works for Snow. But what I like even more personally than the performance of the free product pop-up is how much easier this makes things from an operations standpoint. I'm not using up a discount code in Shopify. As most of you know who are Shopify users, Shopify does not allow you to stack discount codes. You get 1 discount code per cart, per checkout. Back when we used to use discount codes in our pop-up, and when every time we were in a sale or promotion, I would always have to jump in and adjust the discount to make sense. It's a bad look when a user comes to your website and sees 20% off site-wide sale, and then you throw up a sign up and receive 10% off pop-up, 10% off pop-up in their face. And most of the time I would just pause the pop-up for the duration of sale because it was just so much hassle to try to go in and switch everything up. But with a free product lead capture pop-up, it's a true evergreen promotion. We can do whatever we want with discount codes in the ads, on the site. The free product pop-up just adds on to whatever promotion we're already doing and makes it even more attractive for the user. So switch gears away from the pre-product and talk about the 2-step and why you should absolutely be using it as soon as possible if you're not. We're getting both the email and the SMS. SMS leads are more valuable on a lifetime value basis, but more people are still willing to hand over their email than SMS in 2021, at least from our testing. Whenever we tested running an SMS-only lead capture pop-up, we grew the SMS list, but the loss from email leads was greater than the gain. And trying to do both pop-ups at the same time, it's just pop-up overload. But the 2-step allows you to grow the email and the SMS without sacrificing one or the other. Now, the downside to all this setup is obviously, you might imagine, technical complexity. This took a great deal of customization, custom code set up with our pop-up software. It actually took months. We didn't get it fully live until December of 2020, but it was absolutely worth it. We started 2020 in January 2020 with 75,000 SMS subscribers. By the end of 2020, we were at 100,000, even with record traffic. Tried all sorts of initiatives to try to drive list growth, email, so banners in the email, influencers, social media. In 3 months of adding the two-step pop-up, we doubled the list size to 200,000. In 4 more months, we were at 300,000. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this presentation, I would stress the importance of getting your two-step entry pop-up set up as soon as possible. I love my free products, but don't get too hung up on that. Just get the two-step with basic discounts and start building that SMS list. You're building enterprise value when you're growing your SMS list. Snow, we talk with prospective investors, financing partners all the time. The size and the health of our own channels, email and SMS, is a key metric that they look at. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So this list growth strategy alone has made Snow 2.5 million. That 2.5 million you're looking at there, that's just the revenue from the keyword in Postscript from the pop-up. This doesn't count everything else. So next, we'll jump into automations and campaigns. So at Snow, we put heavy focus on automations. We're always testing. As you can see, we have 8 live automations at the moment. Postscript user average is 4. I want to draw your attentions to line 3 and 4 for abandoned checkout. This is we're segmenting and splitting out our abandoned checkout series into 2 groups. One has an additional message highlighting Afterpay, which is for interest-free payments. And if you look in the metrics, this jumped the conversion rate on the checkout flow from 22% to 36% conversion rate. So whether you use Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, any other split pay tool, highly encourage you to test a message like this in your abandoned cart flow. Testing campaigns is critical. We obviously do that too. However, the ROI on improving your automations is incredible because the long-term dividends you get from that as opposed to a campaign. The ROI compounds over time. Just to show you in the next slide. We're seeing $5 EPMs and paying pennies to send messages. It didn't start out like this. There was a long process of testing to get there. That test you saw in the previous slide, there's dozens of like that where the majority of them failed. But the ones that have the gain, they more than make up for the failures. Each failed test gets you one step closer to your home run. Put the effort in, take your SMS program seriously, invest in testing, and you can get these types of results. Next, let's talk a bit about segmentation. So segmenting by products, people who bought what you're looking at here. We'll first back up a second, talking about our segmentation strategy in general. People who buy our hero product, which is our teeth whitening kit, is $150, $300 price point. Once someone has bought that, most of the time it doesn't make sense to sell them multiple kits. They only need one. So at that point, we're trying to sell them other products during our campaigns. This segment you see in the slide here, this is our non-kit buyer list, essentially a non-purchaser segment. Most of the time, we're primarily focused on selling teeth whitening kits to this segment, people who haven't bought teeth whitening kits yet, because it's the majority of our ads, it's what we're known for, and it's also where we get the most AOV. We do sell them, try selling them other products occasionally when we have product launches, but the ROI, the revenue from our kits, is still the core driver of the business. Now, next, you see the 270-day click date or subscriber data created in the last 60 days, alluded to that in an earlier slide. This is the right balance we found between revenue and return on credit spend efficiency based on our deep data analysis. Your numbers may be different. Your profit margin may be different. Your audience may be different. Your goals may be different. For your company, maybe you have a crazy high order value. It might make sense to go back 2 years for the last click date. Or maybe you have a much smaller cart size and you should only go back 90 days for the last click date based on your audience. Do the work, know your numbers. It's painstaking to do this type of test and analysis, but it's absolutely worth it. So by drilling deep on segmentation and data with the help of the Postscript analytics team, we'll go to the next slide. So a message frequency, timing. We're able to get our unsubscribe rate very low and drive our return on credit spend up. You always have to be looking carefully at the incremental value of sending to groups within your list based on when they last clicked, products purchased, etc. And then next, we'll talk a bit about community building and user-generated content. So at Snow, we use SMS as more than simply a revenue channel. That's obviously the focus, but it's more than that. It's also a customer success and engagement tool. And what do I mean by that? There's a few things going on in this slide that we could go into, but in the interest of time, I just want to drill into a couple. So going to panel 3, we're encouraging users to take a before photo and linking to our frequently asked questions page. One of the most important parts of customer lifetime value at Snow is getting them to use the product, obviously, and use it successfully, but by taking a before photo picture before they even start their treatments, because that's the only way they can really measure their results in products with teeth whitening. We know our products work, but if the user doesn't take that before photo, it's really hard to compare. So we take the opportunity to push that there. We could probably do more, like incentivizing it, incentivizing the photo, but just want to call that out. Panel number 4. So you see this text message. You're halfway down with Snow's 21 days, Smile Makeover Challenge. Keep on whitening. Be sure to let us know if you have any questions. You can simply text back here. We are actually telling the customer to text us directly in the thread if they have questions. We currently use Rich Panel at Snow for our customer service ticketing. We previously used Gorgeous. Both Gorgeous and Rich Panel have a direct API integration with Postscript. When the customer replies to a text, it creates a ticket in Rich Panel. When our agent replies to the customer, it shows up in the same SMS thread on the customer's end. That is true conversational marketing, not automated, not outsourced live chat services where they just spam discount codes over and over, but our own Snow customer service trained reps that know our products, know what they can say, know how to answer questions properly when they're texting with the customer. A lot of brands don't want this. They're worried about their customer service team getting overrun with tickets. They view customer service and customer engagement as a cost center. And I would encourage you to rethink that. Our view is that by proactively messaging the customer, engaging them, encouraging conversation, we can intervene early and answer questions to ensure they have success with our products. If the customer has success with our product, they're going to buy more and they're going to recommend us to our family and friends. We know from our post-purchase customer surveys, friend referrals, people mentioning they heard about a Snow from a friend or a family member. It's one of a major source. Obviously, Facebook ads and digital acquisition is dominant, but we get a ton of people who had good results and told their friends about it and sent it to the site. It's the most powerful form of marketing. Talking to the customers, having our agents, having that data, having those conversations, that's valuable intelligence into their mindset. This helps us with our marketing. This makes the products, helps us make better products. But most importantly, it helps our customers be successful, which that's the end goal. So conclusion. Too many people treat SMS as email with 100% open rates. They get the basic flow set up and they just let it run on autopilot. They don't segment, they don't A/B test. And look, I get it. Many of us have very lean teams. We're wearing multiple hats, trust me. I'm fortunate currently and for the last year to have a great team member helping me, running the SMS with me as the main day-to-day manager. But there were times in the last 2 years where I myself was managing the SMS program while also being responsible for all of Snow's digital acquisition. It's tough. But if you put in the effort, if you focus and put the effort into SMS, I promise you, you can get extraordinary results just like these. And with that, Sean, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So much good stuff in there. Really appreciate you, going deep and also just like sharing screenshots and getting specific with recommendations. Nothing worse than a vague presentation sometimes. So being able to look at the actual numbers, the timing of the messages, what kind of segments you've been putting together. To your point, it might be different for other brands, but a lot of these different things that we're measuring, like last time we clicked or when the subscriber came in, we just have to figure out the right number, but these sorts of things will work for tons of brands if we take the time to do the testing, right? So ultimately, want to just extend, the eCom week access for duplicating Snow success, reaching out to someone at Postscript, reaching out to someone at Hawk to get in touch with Postscript. It can be someone in sales, or if you're already working with Postscript, maybe a customer success manager. But we do have this internal calculator that we've been running for tons of stores in order to give them exactly, the best recommendations. It's kind of hard to know where to get started or to know what success looks like based on what your AOV is or how many orders you're doing in a month and stuff like that. How do you know if you're just scratching the surface versus getting the most out of it? So 2021 has really been the year of us layering on a lot of that strategy help. We were working with so many small brands over the last couple of years. This is the first year that we have tons of folks in-house with data teams and success teams to help you go to the next level, like Snow. So some screenshots here of just like how the calculator would work. Not going to belabor this kind of stuff, but really it spits out very specific numbers that we can goal ourselves towards having the best possible experience with Postscript. You want to give it a shot texting eCom week to the short code on the screen, or you can get your phone out, do the QR code thing. Definitely encourage you to reach out, and we can always take it from there. But otherwise, happy to answer some questions. Eric, we've got one question here. I'll probably just read these and then we can determine who's going to answer them. But one question is, how important is it to include customer testimonials in your SMS strategy? You want to take that, Eric?
Sure. You want to jump back to slide 29?
Yes.
So if you look at the second panel, it's I believe it was a screenshot from an Instagram DM. We had this isn't an influencer. This is just a customer that messaged us out of the blue. And we got permission to use user marketing, or use this in marketing, obviously. This message has been running for this testimonial has been in our welcome series for, gosh, most of this year at least, and it's undefeated. We have tested like a bunch of different ones. Like there's probably 10 other ones we've tried thinking, oh, this one's way better. No, this one, I received so many compliments to my teeth at my wedding. Your system just gave me that extra boost of confidence in my big day. Thank you so much. It just kills it. So how important is to include customer testimonials? I would say you've got to test it, but it can definitely work, but you want to test it because this one, as I said, kills it, but we've tried a bunch of others that have not. So it depends on your brand. It depends on the testimonials you have, but I would encourage you to test it and don't give up. Find the one that resonates. This one just kills it with our audience.
Yeah, I can chime in quickly. Based on a lot of successful brands I've seen, two things matter a lot here. The page that you send them to that has the information on the testimonial, make sure that that's like very well optimized to take people to the next step. Too many times we have brands send people to like a customer testimonial page, and that testimonial page is sort of like a dead end. And now you've sort of like lost the CTA, maybe they bounce from there. So just make sure that if you're using the testimonial as part of like the funnel advancement, you need to actually have that page optimized to have them take the next step from there, because you're kind of skipping a step, so to speak. The other thing, to Eric's point, these work fantastic in welcome series. I haven't seen testimonials work as well in other types of messages because they can be a little bit of a blocker. So they're good for converting new folks. Testimonials are good if someone hasn't converted after the first couple of messages. So is customer education and different things like that. I've also seen testimonials work pretty well on like shipping notifications, just because it's kind of an in-between message. You don't really have a clear call to action. People like to get the shipping and the order delivered notifications. So you can build a little bit of, better rapport there by throwing in a testimonial. Eric, the next question we have is, for a company like Snow that has visually compelling product, how do you determine when to use MMS versus SMS, and how you use images in your SMS campaigns?
Great question. Really have to know your audience and test. I hate using that default answer off the bat, but I would say if you want a rule of thumb, we focus, depending on the size of the list, and I'll condense it down. So for the most part, we focus on using images, MMS messages in our automations and very targeted list sends. On our larger campaign sends, we've done the tests repeatedly. We find that, yes, the MMS messages, they tend to get a higher click-through rate, but most of the time, it's not enough to justify the increased credit spend. So we focus on sending SMS messages in our campaigns, and we do a mix in our automations. Some campaigns, it depends if it's a product launch, if it's a targeted list send to like a VIP segment, we may jump in and sprinkle in MMS, but for the most part in our big campaign blasts, we're really trying to optimize our credit spend to keep that return on credit spend high.
Yeah, it's a great call out. In Postscript in particular, and for most SMS platforms, MMS usually costs about 3 times what an SMS costs. So it's no joke if you've got a huge list, you don't want to send MMS when you don't need to. I would strongly encourage everyone to, yes, A/B test. Eric is spot on with MMS being really great in automations because automations are one at a time. And when you want to send out 100,000 MMS, it will also just take your campaign way longer to send. So if you're trying to build urgency, if you've got a new product drop, sometimes you want that campaign to be delivered faster to your list. SMS messages just deliver remarkably faster. So having automations throughout the customer journey in the right like MMS sequence for welcome series, abandoned carts, different things like that makes perfect sense. And then the last thing, a little bit of an aside to this topic, is just make sure when you're doing MMS that it looks similar to what's on like the left side of the screen here, or maybe the third panel here. You want your MMS to still fit on one screen, right? The more you're making people scroll, if you want to include an image, that's great. Just please don't include like a novel that goes with it, because you're going to see worse and worse performance the more you make people read. These texts, in addition to the spacing and all the other things, are also really well put together from a copy standpoint, because they're broken out, they've got spaces, super clear call to action, things like that certainly matter. You don't want to like overwhelm people. Here is a question specific for you, Eric. Do you still send campaign blasts out to your customers who are on your Confidence Club subscription, or are you mostly using SMS to convert non-subscription customers?
Great question. So full disclosure, this is something we're still figuring out the mix, because subscription was not a big part of our business until a couple months ago. We really figured out how to optimize the website, our funnels, to be able to get a lot more subscriptions into the Confidence Club before we had challenges. So we're still figuring out the right mix of viewing this. I would say that, we do try to avoid, if someone's already getting their toothpaste and a floss on our Confidence Club subscription, which is what we call our subscription box club, essentially. We don't want to sell them. We don't want them to buy more of their product. They're already on a subscription. So we're trying to tailor the messaging on campaigns to get them to buy other products. Fortunately, we've launched several other products in the past couple of months. We have our teeth whitening strips, teeth whitening powder. So we have lip products. So we're selling the other products. So yes, we still will send out campaign blasts because they are high value customers, and try to get them to engage in the promotion. That being said, we also have a reply to buy automation with Postscript and integration with Postscript and Recharge, which are our subscription platform that we're just starting to test. And this is something where it's an automation where if someone has their subscription date coming up, they can simply reply, I believe it's just like yes or no, and add a one-time purchase onto their subscription. So I'm very excited to test that. But short answer to your question is, yes, we're still figuring out the right way to speak to our subscription customers. We do want to definitely avoid, trying to get them to buy more products that what they already have a regular delivery on. So that part's a bit tricky, but we're figuring it out.
No surprise that if subscription's newer to the business, that part of the answer is just to test, which is a good theme. And when you have the data to do it with and you're at scale, I think that's good. I can chime in quickly on some of the best practices I've seen with things like VIP clubs, subscriptions, these like highly engaged customer bases. On one hand, you don't want to bother them with too many messages. On the other hand, they deserve to know first. And that's what I would say is like, if you just need one kind of like sweeping strategy for like your VIP lists or your subscribers, just put them onto a rhythm, use segmentation to give them 1 day early heads up on new products, or 1 day early on some of the community building efforts you might do. Things like that are pretty straightforward and easy to execute, but can also help convert more people onto those VIP lists. This will probably be our last question. So audience question here is, any conversational best practices for a brand that is in pre-launch or pre-order? I've seen a couple of interesting experiments run for pre-launch brands. Eric, do you have anything that comes to mind?
I haven't tried anything in terms of like specifically a conversational tactic yet. I would love to. I think there's opportunity to do that now that we're launching a lot of new products, but I'm not going to speak to something that I haven't had direct experience or knowledge of yet. So I'll pass it back to you, Sean.
Yeah, so we saw earlier on, what a lot of vendors will call the NASCAR slide, the slide that had a lot of the logos of some of the brands that we worked with. Olipop is on there, and Eli Weiss over there has done some pretty interesting things, not necessarily pre-launch, but with pre-launch for like new products to get community going and to build buzz before something launches. And so something I would recommend for conversational and trying to get the two-way thing going on pre-launch is a little bit specific to what you might be able to do with Postscript versus some of the other platforms, but you want to create keywords and send out polls. It's a fantastic way to ask people about new colors, new SKUs, new flavors, different ways that you can say like, hey, what should our next XYZ flavor be? And different things like that. We've seen some brands utilize this to the extent that they get so many replies back, but if they do it correctly, they're doing it by having people sort of like re-opt into certain types of keywords. So let's say hypothetically, you say like grape or cherry, what's going to be our next flavor for this product? If you can find a version of that for what your pre-launch brand is. Well, when the answer becomes cherry and you already know you're going to do grape 6 months from now anyway, now when you're ready to launch that product, you can specifically send a campaign to the people that voted cherry first, let them know that this is coming out XYZ. Like those types of campaigns we've seen, because you've got some give and take from the customers that have put in their input on the types of products they want to see or they've weighed in. This is also a fantastic thing that you can do with that VIP or subscriber list that we had talked about before. But things like that, the CTR and like the order conversion data is through the roof when you use keywords as like a voting mechanism, and you get a lot of good back and forth going.